So I saw that you worked with the Kardashians. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
That was a moment. I saw it.
Fun.
Yeah. Okay. So you worked with the Kardashians to help Scott find someone.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, her name was Celine, right? The
yes.
person that you guys matched him up with. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about this. This is exciting. And how intimidating were the Kardashians when it comes to finding love? Or were they the sweetest?
They were actually so fun.
That's great.
I think they would make great matchmakers. So our job was to present them with women that met Scott's type and that we think could be a fit. And then they were ultimately the matchmakers. So it was Chris and Chloe that interviewed all the women, and then they chose Celine to meet Scott.
That is so interesting. Okay, so how was that working with them? And what did you realize, if you can share, what was important for them when, I guess they were being matchmakers part 2, right? Because
Yes.
like initially you're coming in, you're bringing this information, and then they're sifting through it as well. What mattered the most to them when it came to matchmaking Scott?
Well, originally what they were asking for is someone age appropriate. That was something that we were working on. But I think ultimately it came down to personality and core values. They really seemed to genuinely care, like wanted to help Scott find love. So it was just finding the right person that would bring out the best in him and also fit in well with the family.
And does that happen, I guess, in other situations where family members are also the matchmakers in addition to the work that you're doing? Like, is that a good practice to have or no? I guess it would depend on the family, right? Like, are they successful in their own relationships and stuff like that? But do you prefer a client to have a support system helping them when it comes to matchmaking?
Sometimes parents or siblings will pay for their relative to go through matchmaking, which is so kind and helpful.
Right.
The problem is sometimes they're a little too involved. And so they want the matchmaker to produce what they want for their relative.
Right.
And it can put a little bit too much pressure on the client. And it makes it so the search is actually whoever the person's paying for, like what they're looking for.
Right.
And I think part of the problem of dating is that we're looking at all these other outside factors for who we should be with. So Disney movies and what our parents are looking for and our friends. And so we have all this outside data that's infiltrating. And so we're not able to really figure out who should we be with? And ultimately, we're the ones that have to live with this person and sleep with this person and spend the rest of our life. So it really should be our choice. So sometimes when you're bringing in outside factors like a parent or a sibling, it just can complicate the process.
So you're not a fan of it?
I'm a fan of paying for your child and then stepping away.
Okay, so with Scott, how was it? Was Chris and Chloe still involved, or were they really more, okay, well, now we'll take a step back. How did they balance this?
From our perspective, we sent them the matches. They went through the interview process. They picked the one. And I think they were really rooting for her.
Right.
And then Scott went on the date, and it was ultimately his decision.
Right.
I actually don't know exactly what happened post the date. But I know they did have a good time together.
Good. I was going to ask, what happened? Do we need to watch the rest of the season to find out?
I don't know if it's going to pop up again, but I do know that they both enjoyed each other's company, and it was a solid first date.
I think more than anything, what it was showing is that he was open-minded. And I think that's probably, if I had to guess without knowing them, that was probably Chris and Chloe's goal, is to get him to be open-minded, to just, seeing other types of, opportunities, maybe check someone out that you wouldn't know before or whatever it is. Just, I think the goal was to be open-minded.
Yeah. And they played the matchmakers after the date because Scott talked a little bit about his post-date feedback. And in that conversation, he was assessing, like, this is what I liked about her, and this surprised me. And
that's good.
Analyzing that is so important versus what a lot of people do is they just move right on to the next person without really assessing how they felt.
I feel like you should matchmake Kim now.
I'm ready.
Right? At this point, is there a celebrity that you feel like, oh yeah, I would be a great matchmaker for them, and I would love to just partake in any way? Have you thought of that at all?
I do slide into a lot of DMs.
Do you really? I'm obsessed right now. I love this.